Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Andy Social Podcast. My name is Andy Dowling, and this week's guest is with Peter Hobbs of Hobbs Angel of Death. And I'll get to him in a moment. But first of all, did you know that I play in the Australian metal band Lord? Surprise, surprise. Who would have thought? You can go over to lord.net.au and check out our tunes if you love a bit of heavy metal. We've got lots of different links to our back catalogue, links to Spotify. We've got all of our video clips over there, heaps of bio stuff. We've got links to our online store. The website's really, really good. It's a new one that Tim's put together. A massive step up from our old website. So go over and have a sticky beak at lord.net.au. In addition to playing in a metal band, I also host the Self-Starter podcast, which is all about small business, self-employment, and freelancing. You can go over to selfstarter.com.au. I'll spit that one out, selfstarter.com.au, and you can go and check that out, and you can find the podcast in your preferred podcast player, probably what you're listening through right now. Now, a couple of updates for you really, really quickly. I'm going to try and get into the habit of giving some updates of previous guests and what they're up to, because I think that's kind of cool. We'll keep following the story in the background. But two things actually, which are quite interesting, and you guys might get something out of it. Caitlin Langley, who was on episode 123 of the podcast, we talked about a lot of her campaigning that she's been doing to implement a law in Albury at a abortion clinic for an exclusion zone. So religious protesters couldn't hang out the front and harass people that were utilising the clinic. And a couple of weeks ago, we were extremely fortunate that in New South Wales, the law was passed, and now there is a 150-metre exclusion zone around clinics in New South Wales. So those religious protesters can no longer hang out the front of clinics and harass people that need to use these medical services. So that's a great win. Well done to Caitlin for putting in a lot of hard work to get awareness out there and help fight for rights for people that need to utilise those services. So that's pretty cool. Another thing, which is just a bit of a random one, and I guess that was from quite a while ago, on episode 60 of the podcast, Mike Mills of Towhider. I just want to make a mention of this because it's just so cool. And for anyone who knows Mike and Towhider, you know that Mike has been on the last several Aerion releases, and he's been doing a lot of live stuff with Aerion and just really, really cool stuff. And just about a week or so ago, he just did Grass Pop. And that's like this massive, massive festival in Belgium. And there's like 100,000 people that go to it. It's just incredible. Anyway, they played right after Iron Maiden on a different stage, which I initially thought was suicide. I thought it was not going to end well. But I saw some videos and footage on Mike's page, and it's just absolutely incredible. Massive, massive crowd. He was on stage with some of the best singers in rock and metal, and just amazing to see Mike just continue to do amazing things. So if you want to check out a bit more of Mike, you can go to episode 60 of the podcast. There's heaps of links to Mike's work, Towhider, and all the Aerion stuff as well. So just a really, really cool thing that I saw the other day. Also, another update. With Self-Starter, I got notified the other day that Self-Starter, because I was a finalist in the Australian Podcast Awards for 2018 for Host of the Year, I am now eligible to submit Self-Starter to the National Film and Sound Archive in Canberra. And what that is, it's literally what it is. It's an archive in Canberra run by the Australian government, and it catalogues all sorts of sound recordings over the last 120 years of Australian history. And it can be anything from, I think the oldest recordings from 1896, and it goes right up until now. There's every single genre of music. There's poetry readings, there's sound recordings of animals and different things. It's just, it's almost like one of those time capsules of just to understand the human race, and it's just amazing that Self-Start is going to be, my voice is going to be a part of Australian history. So yes, now officially a part of the National Film and Sound Archive. So very, very cool. Thank you very much to David Anna of the Australian Podcast Awards for making that happen, and of course to the National Film and Sound Archive. A nice little win there. Moving along, this week's shout out. Now, if you're new to the podcast, each and every week I thank somebody that supports me, supports Andy Social, Self-Starter, Lord, whatever it is, and it could be doing things such as leaving reviews on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Facebook. You could be buying merchandise. You could be shouting me a beer via PayPal on my andysocial.net website. It could be social media love, retweeting, tagging, sharing, commenting, all that sort of stuff. It could be a message of encouragement. It could be a guest suggestion, whatever it might be. It all goes a long way, small or big. It keeps me motivated, driven. It helps me build all these things. And as a result, I would hope that it brings more value to you guys as well. So thank you to everyone that continues to support in a whole range of different ways. This week's shout out, however, is for Rowan Bunting. Now, Rowan is from the band Battlegrave from Melbourne, which is a death thrash metal band. And Rowan's just been really, really positive and really encouraging in a lot that I've been doing over the last several months. And Rowan sent me a bunch of Battlegrave CDs, which I'm going to use as giveaways through Lord Orders, but also through the Antisocial podcast. So I'm going to start doing a lot more giveaways in the near future. I've got a few ideas, so stay tuned with that. But Rowan's just been a he's incredibly positive. And I'm yet to meet Rowan in person, and I'm really looking forward to meeting him hopefully soon. But he's just a super positive guy. He loves his metal, and he's just really, really passionate about music, but just positivity. You know, he's just really, really positive and just encouraging people online, and me being one of those people as well. So thank you so much, Rowan, for the encouragement, the positive vibes and the messages, and also the donation of some Battlegrave CDs as well. And please send me a message when you hear this, and I will flick you out something in the post, because we all love getting something in the post. So thank you once again to Rowan, and thank you to everybody else that continues to support the podcast. And it means a hell of a lot, and this thing continues to build and build and build. All right, now this week's guest, as mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, is with Peter Hobbs of Hobbs Angel of Death. If you're not familiar with Hobbs Angel of Death, they're one of our legends in the Australian metal scene. Hobbs Angel of Death have been around since, I believe, 1987, one of our thrash pioneers, and Peter Hobbs is a bit of a legend when it comes to Australian metal and Australian metal icons. And this is a really cool chat, really, really cool chat. We went in a whole range of different directions. We were all over the shop. We did a little bit of a history lesson with Hobbs Angel of Death in places, but I tried to jump and swap between different eras of the band, and we talked on a whole range of different topics. I'm going to leave it at that, actually. I'm going to just dive straight into it. You can go and check out Hobbs Angel of Death on Facebook by, I think it's Hobbs Angel of Death Official. So just go facebook.com/Hobbs Angel of Death Official. But as always, you go to andysocial.net and click on the show notes for this episode, and everything will be in there as well. Hobbs Angel of Death are headlining the first night of the Steel Assassins Festival in Sydney on November 2nd. So you can get tickets to see them, and we, Lord, are headlining night 2 of the festival as well on November 3rd. So I'll put links to buy tickets over on andysocial.net in the show notes for this episode, as well as if you go to Lord shows on andysocial.net, you can click on the ticket links for the upcoming Lord shows as well. So more info at the end of the episode, but for now, please enjoy this really, really cool chat with Peter Hobbs of Hobbs Angel of Death.
No, I was diagnosed 12 months ago with global chronic heart failure.
Ah, I didn't know. No, sorry to hear, mate.
Yeah, no, I need a heart transplant and I ain't going to get one. Well, for starters, they wouldn't give me one.
Yep.
And because everything else in the body has been abused that hard over the last 48 years, it's... What would I join it? There's nothing to join it to.
Yeah, all right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I guess just try and get a few more miles out of it, I guess.
Well, that's it, mate. You know, so that's why I cancelled. I can't tour anymore. I can't fly overseas or anything. So I had to pull the pin on that.
Yeah. And
I'd say the last thing I'm doing... Well, I'm going to try and do is the one up in Sydney. And just fucking have some St. John ambulances there and fucking whatever. That's how it is, bro. That's how I write.
So it could be a pretty eventful show.
Is which?
It could be very eventful. Yeah, I had no idea. So, because the first thing I was going to ask you straight away was what's the go with the last Sydney show ever on for Steel Assassins in Sydney, and you've got a pretty legitimate reason there. So yeah, that's not good to hear, but at least you're still trucking along as it is now. So I guess you just do what you can.
Yeah, well, yeah. So Dave said to me, "It doesn't matter. Fucking come up there, do what you can possibly do, and that's it, Pete. That's fucking how it's going to be."
Okay. Absolutely.
So I got a line up for doing that from here, and given an unknown young buck a shot so he can put it into his excuse me, he can put it into his fucking CV.
Yeah.
And we just got to fucking do it, you know. I'm in the process of moving to New South Wales.
Oh right, whereabouts?
Eden.
Oh right, yeah, right down the south coast.
Yeah, so
Nice part of the world.
just to give myself some bit more future to look forward to, and take Mum up there with me. She's fucking not good either.
Yeah.
And we lost Dad a few months ago too.
Mm.
So, mate, fucking, it's just how it is. So I'm coming up there to fucking torment marlin and tuna and fucking this band from Sydney called Lord. Beware.
Look out, hell's coming.
That's it. Beware. He's only fucking 200 k's down the coast. Be careful.
I love it. Well, I tell you what. I mean, I've got an indirect relative that lives down Eden Way, and it's a hell of a nice place in the world. So I could think of certainly worse places to rest up and chill out a bit.
Yeah, you know, like I'm not in the main town of itself. Mm. I'm out on a new estate. It's fucking beautiful, man. It really is cool. And the house I fucking put a deposit. It's just, oh, bro, fuck. Who would want to die up there? You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
Oh, I've got the boats, so that's what I'll be spending my time with.
I could think of worse things to do.
And just enjoy life, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
that's the one.
I think you've been running around for a few years now, so it's probably a well-deserved break.
Mm. Sorry?
It's probably a well-deserved break now after all the years of running around.
Well, that's it. And I mean, like, it took a really bad hit in the 90s. Mm. And now all of a sudden it's picking up good.
Yeah.
It really is picking up good. P&O ships are coming in there. They're deciding whether to make it a port where you can buy to go and whatever for fucking trips, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they've done a fair bit of work up there.
Oh, it's good. It's very good.
Hmm.
I'm going to be all over the shop with this because I've got a whole bunch of dumb questions and stuff that you probably answered a million times. So I'm going to try and put a bit of a different spin on it. So I'm going to jump all over the place. I'm not going to do the Ray Martin, this is your life, Peter Hobbs, but I'll try and pick out a few things that that I've always been curious about, and love to hear it from your gob rather than anybody else's. But I mean, the big thing that I've always and I've never bothered to actually sit down and have a chat to you about it until now is when you guys recorded that first album in Germany, and I think what was it, like 87 or 88 or something like that. I mean, you guys were in Berlin in the late 80s. What the hell was that like, around that time? And there's a lot of, great German metal bands that were sort of active around that time as well. Did you have any sort of connections with any of those guys, especially the thrash bands at the time?
Well, I knew actually a lot of those bands before I even left to go. Mm. Like we do, because of the tape trading years ago and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was heavily involved with the scene, like with Tyrus before, and I saw a vision of what I wanted out of life, And we used to, those things called big pens?
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to have, it was like a plastic thing and it had ink in it. And you used to sort of push it on this stuff called paper.
Oh, and then you've lost me now.
Yeah, and we used to call it writing.
Yeah, right. I'm following.
And you'd write to these people that live far away, and you'd fucking grab a pigeon that flew past and put it in its fucking leg.
Oh, you're that old, are you?
And send it off. Yeah, no, it's just the old technology, bro.
Yeah.
And, like it was a long process to do a lot of those things. And same as like contracts, trying to do deals and not even trying to do everything. It was either faxes or a telephone call. It was hard, you know. But I think I'm old school, so I love the old ways and how it all is. But no, spend a lot of time with those sort of people. And, of course, I travelled a fair bit before I even went to Germany. So I did a pre-promotional sort of little tour and knocked on all the doors and went to all the record companies, and I had that demo with me. So it made interest and made things a bit easier, you know.
Mm.
Then I lived there for a little while in England, so I could be in the sort of game, and I could travel across the channel, and I could be very close to see what was going on. But in the end, you got to come back to Australia. It's just the ultimate place to live, you know.
Did that help at the time living in England? Like, in hindsight, did it give you a bit of an advantage? There's things that you would have missed out on if you were still trying to work it all out of Australia?
Well, I went to a lot of companies when I was living in England, and it did make life easier. But at the same time there was a lot of the companies, Angie, that wanted to tie up an Australian band. So there was me and there was Mortal Sin.
Yeah. And
they were just waiting. They were waiting for me to sign the on dotted line. And I thought, I just want to wait. And I thought, I've got a bit more to offer yet. And there was a company that I really wanted. Excuse me. So I said, look, I'm not signing nothing. I'm going back home. I want to do another demo. And then I'll send you that and we'll see what happens from there. So I came back to Australia, hooked up with another lineup. And I had more lineups than I have changed my jocks, I tell you.
I'll ask you about that later.
Yeah. We just, I came back, I went through lineup changes of the previous to the demos and got another one. Anyway, I did another demo, sent it back to the company that I was interested in, and they said to me, yep, you're on, we want you. So that was it, you know, and just sort of had that opportunity, and I think and I believe that I was the first one from Australia to be ever flown back and to do a production there with Harris Johns and the people that I chose to be involved with.
Would have been pretty exciting time, you know, at that point in time, because as you said, like being, you know, the first and sort of being a bit of a pioneer for metal, especially in that part of the world as well. I mean, maybe at the time you probably just going with the flow and the motion of it all, but I mean, you know, looking back now, it seems pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's sort of like I looked at America as well. And Americans don't believe we exist until we actually go there, you know. They think that we're just not real. And like when you get there, they go, "Oh, you came here." I think, well, what the fuck do you think? I was just joking, you know. But you know how it is yourself traveling. You travel the world too, bro. You know also the differences of what is real and what is not. You know what I mean? Yeah. And being English, I've always had that European edge.
Yep.
So, you know, as time went on, I did get to America and do what I had to do there too, and accepted extremely well. You know, but the European edge I've always had, that more sort of, what can we say, dirtier. Not so much. To me, I've always thought that American has been a slightly polished thing.
Yeah.
Where Europe, we've left it that raw. raw sort of edge. But then America at the time too, in the 80s, they were seeing what Europe was doing too, and they became left with the raw edge as well.
Mm.
And that's how Slayer became, and everybody else.
I think a lot of those, if you look at some of those earlier sort of harder thrash bands from Europe, and they had that really sort of raw sound, and then a lot of that sort of early 80s where black metal sort of kicked off with Bathory and all that, and even Venom from the UK. I mean, a lot of that stuff comes from, or probably more the sort of Eastern European countries where you had a lot of adversity and First and Second World Wars. There's a lot of generational sort of struggles that people have had, so it's sort of a lot of that stuff sort of comes out through music, and so you can hear it in that sound. And I think when you said that polished description for a lot of American metal to begin with, anyway, I mean, I think it was just it was a different background, different generations, and yeah, they went to war, but it was a different type of war for them compared to what a lot of European countries have had to go through for in some cases hundreds and hundreds of years, but definitely in the last sort of century or so. There's been a lot of generational struggles, so that rough edge that they had, that dirty aspect of it, which sort of oozed out a lot of that shit that they've had to deal with for so many generations.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, Andy, because like when we were there in the late 80s, the Berlin Wall was there. East was separated from West. We used to go to Checkpoint Charlie at lunch break and have a look over the fence and fucking dodge bullets, mate. you know what I mean? It was sort of like when Checkpoint Charlie was there was steps that you could actually get up and stand on and look over to the other side of the wall. And fucking hell, man, it was grey. There was a totally different sort of feel about it. You had your black and white on one side, and the other side was very grey, very depressing feeling. And you could see the hardness of what it was, and even a lot of European and Germans today, they won't forget about it. No, they just don't want to know about it anymore. They're very. I think that the change. You know what I mean? They want to forget. And I've had many interviews over the years, and even like when I first got there in the 80s, I said, "What about the name? Come on, isn't that? Are you finding that insulting or whatever?" And I always said, "Look, you cannot change history." I said my mother was running around as a kid at school, hiding under tables from bombs coming into England. We can't change the fact of what happened. We just got to learn from it,
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you can try to ignore it and try and, not talk about it and put in conversation, but it's so ingrained in people. It's in their DNA. And, as the generations pass on, you pass on those stresses and the stories and the struggles, and it'll surface again in one way or the other. So if anything, it's probably unhealthy to sort of try and forget about it and try and put it behind you. You have to reflect on it, and that's where you learn and you grow from it. But I mean, I guess it's easy for me to say sort of, a few generations in Australia and having a pretty cushiony upbringing compared to what other people have had. But it is interesting to see how other people have had to adjust and move on with a lot of shit that's happened over the last century.
Well, that's right, bro. Some of us are very lucky that we never even went through that. And like even when I toured Europe and gone through Bosnia, gone through Serbia, and gone through some pretty sort of thick areas when they were having their troubles through the 90s and 2000s, and not that long ago. You know what I mean? And fucking hell, mate, we were driving through some towns, and the fucking bullet holes are still in the walls of the houses, and you just think, fuck, this wouldn't have been fun,
No.
So, but anyway, we move on, and I think a lot of the people have moved on, and now They know what freedom is, and they enjoy the freedom that's offered today, you know?
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, when you guys were in Berlin at the time, did you bring a bunch of guys over with you to record, or did you pick people? I think you mentioned before you sort of picked people to record on the album over in Germany?
Yeah, they came from Australia, of course, Wooly, Phil, and Darren McMaster Smith.
Yep.
And Phil was the only one that didn't play on the demos.
Yeah, okay.
And we were looking there. I was looking for a bass player, and mate, I was scraping. I was scraping to find somebody that would take on the job. Everybody was slightly scared. They were worried about their jobs. They were worried about their girlfriends leaving them. I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, come on, this is a chance of an opportunity. For fucking hell, grab it. Come on. So the people that went, we grabbed them by the horns and went and done a great album, did a few shows back here in Melbourne and Adelaide, I think Sydney, and then again ready for lineup changes. And it's sort of always had that sort of battle of the lineup changes. Not everybody can see the vision.
Yep.
Like I have, and I see I'm a go-getter, and I sacrifice everything. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I want what I want, and I take the consequences afterwards. Like I gave up good jobs all my life to do what I've done.
Yeah. And
in the end, I didn't worry about it anymore because I could do things for myself, so it didn't sort of matter. But when you run along in a band where people work, they need their cash flow to survive. You have to. It's a fact. You can't stop. So sadly, somebody's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably, from a Dungeon and Lord point of view, the whole sort of span, we're probably pretty similar to you, or getting close to the amount of people that have been a part of the band over the years. And it's a similar sort of concept where, Tim's been there since day dot, and he's had that vision from when he was a kid, and that's all he's ever wanted to do. And even now, the way that we talk and we're, writing new music, it's still there, and that passion's still there, and it'll always be there. You'll never be able to get it out of him. And
I mean, I've got a lot of respect for Tim because I know how when Dungeon started, I know how his vision and what he wanted, and he's still there today. And fucking hell, he's one of the best guitarists to ever come out of this country, and the vocalist too.
Yeah.
The guy is very lucky that he can do both, sing and play at the same time. But no, I've always had a lot of respect for Tim.
Yeah.
So good on him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I've been lucky to sort of, be able to keep pace with him for the most part over, I don't know, however long I've been in the band now. But, you see the same challenges that you've seen over the years where, maybe it's living in Australia. Maybe that's part of the problem, is that, the opportunities aren't just there at your fingertips from a music point of view. And we come from very sort of traditional backgrounds of, generations of, blue collared workers, and you think about stability of jobs, and that's the most important thing, putting, food on the table. And, you can't just jump half an hour down the road and play another major city. You've got to travel hundreds of kilometers to the next town to play a show, and it's not as popular as maybe in Europe. So that's probably half the reason. But, many times you had to sit down and have a conversation with someone and say, we're going to keep moving. And they say, well, I can't. And you go, that's cool. And you have to try and find someone else.
Yeah, it's an accepted fact that we live a long way from the action. And for us, and for whoever wants to follow a dream, that's a part of the dream that you have to take on. You can't have your cake and eat it. Like I said just previously, I think Australia's a great country to live in. It gives us some great opportunities, and it's a sacrifice to actually have to give up for such a short time to go and follow that dream. You do the dream, and when you return, you got fucking nothing, and you go, fuck, what do we do now?
Yeah.
But that's all part of growing up.
It is. Absolutely. Did you, when you went over to the UK to live for a bit, did you, when you, obviously after the album, you came back to Australia, did you ever, over the years after that, ever consider relocating, back to, back to England or to somewhere in Europe at all to try and sort of kick it up a notch? Or was it always just Australia's where you've got to base yourself, and that's just the way it's going to be?
Look, I was married. I was married at the time. I was married at the time when I was in Taurus, so I got married when I was very young, and I was lucky enough to have a partner that supported everything I did and gave me that opportunity to go and do what I did. And I went back a couple of times, and then I got to a stage where, okay, now when I come here, I need a lineup. And then I couldn't find one there because I would be only there for such a short stay.
Yeah.
It made it hard. So it was either the choice of totally, again, relocating and go back there, or stay here.
Yeah.
And after already taking a few hits in the beginning, I'm thinking, sometimes you got to weigh it up too,
Was that a big reason why, sort of, between that and having people come and go in the band, like the reason why there was such a big gap between the two albums, or the first two albums, I should say?
Look, I think a lot of the issue there was, and you see it as you get older, you hang around negativity and you become disillusioned. And you're thinking, fuck, I can do this, I know I can do it, but there's a pain in the ass, there's a fucking another one to the left, there's another one to the right, and it didn't seem to matter what sort of road you went down, it would be a continuous head fuck and a problem, And in the end, I thought, fuck this. I'm going fishing. So I went fishing, as what I love doing today too, and I caught this fucking whale, and it towed me around for nearly 10 years. And then all of a sudden I thought, this fucking Moby Dick, he's just too big. I ain't going to get this fucking guy. So I cut the line. And I found myself talking to a few people, and next minute I know I'm in a band again.
Yeah.
And that's when Inheritance started, that second album. I think in 94 I probably would have been probably only thrash band still maybe around. From Australia. Everybody else had turned. Slayer was still going, of course. Metallica was still going. All the big names were still going. A lot of great new Australian bands were coming in as well. And but then the scene had changed. It had gone to grindcore. It wasn't so much thrash anymore. So I tried to keep the thrash. I just do what I do. I write what I want to write, and I write for people that's going to enjoy it. I think it's very hard to keep writing and writing and writing for a special audience. So, yeah, that's what took the time there. And then, of course, probably the same amount coming back around and do Evan Bled.
Well, that second album versus the last album that you put out it's getting to about 2 years ago now. That would have been a completely different thing again, because, as you said, like the 90s, the attention was elsewhere. People, the flavour of the month was different, and then sort of 2016 you go and release the next one, and there's been a massive resurgence in the last decade or so, especially the sort of the last 5 or so years. But it would have been, I'm assuming for you, it would have been a completely different experience again.
See, same sort of thing. I went off and I did what I wanted to do. I build hot rods, I build cars. I need to be doing something all the time, So, and when I put my mind into something, I got a tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And the same sort of thing happened. I went off building cars, having a radical time. I went to the Philippines. I went crazy. I went stupid. Had some great times, had some bad times, had some laughs, had some cries. And come 2012, I got asked, you ever thought about wanting to play again? I thought, not really, but it could be fun. Boom, there we go again. The band's on fire again. And then from 2012 to 2013, I started getting hits. I was getting a lot of inquiries. Do you want to tour America? Do you want to tour here? Do you want to come there? And that's when a few members from Australia helped me, and we went on a few tours. And then I hooked up with the Italians, which are on the album, and the Swede.
Yep. That
are in my European lineup. If maybe one day I get on the fucking boat and row there, I'll be fine. We can still do something. But it was the Italians. Like Alessio, bass player, he's like my son. These guys are like my sons.
Yeah.
That are in the lineup for Europe, and they made it easy and not so stressful for me. Like they knew, like we'll do all the lugging, we'll do the lifting. Don't worry, you go do what you got to do. So fuck it, I just used to go off in a coma and get myself ready to play that night, and I was cool.
Yeah.
So it was, I think it was a respectful ride, Andy. It was really good. They made it easy. They didn't break my balls. They just let me do what I had to do, let me think about what I wanted to think about. And then next thing, we were in the studio. I mean, I recorded that album 3 times, everybody, with different lineups until I found the right one. And the last one that came out, that was it. I was happy with it. I produced it myself. I knew exactly what I wanted. It was a studio I went in. It was comfortable. It was good. And I had the right people around me to make that last album that I believe this is a good one. This is a good album to write. Give back the gifts of all the bands that I've loved and that have influenced me. Put it all into one album and give that back to the industry as a gift.
Yeah.
And that's how it came, So there's a lot of influences on there, a lot of bands that have influenced me, a lot of bands that I've influenced throughout the years. And it was just put everything I had and let it out there. And that was it. I had my stamp on the cover and my Hobbs symbol, and that's it.
How did that go down with, I mean, obviously you've got a pretty loyal fan base of people that, follow you guys and follow what you've been doing since day dot. But compared to the 90s where, the attention was elsewhere and there was a bit of a struggle for a lot of bands, I mean, what was the difference? Did you get a different type of reaction from people?
I don't know. I think from over the years, Andy, and being in the scene for so long, and also getting out there and doing it, I've been a sort of lucky guy in a sense where I've been accepted into the industry. I have respect from the industry, And it wasn't that hard. I mean, I actually signed deals, and the labels never even heard Heaven Bled. They hadn't even heard it.
Yeah, that's great.
And they signed me up and said, well, can we please hear it now? And I said, well, I'll just send it off to Plan to make it. You won't be disappointed. And from all the labels, and they, holy fuck, this is good, man. This is what we wanted.
Yeah.
And it worked. You know, the reviews were really good. We got number one in a lot of the charts everywhere. It had great response. And without being egotistic, I believe in the future that album will become cult as good as the first.
Oh, it's time, isn't it? It's like a lot of things age well, and the longer that they're there,
Yep.
they sit there and they got time to sort of grow on their own, and people always look back with this sort of a nostalgic feeling as well. They listen to stuff in a period of their, you know, in their life or whatever. That's why people love, you know, a lot of classic albums. I mean, they're great and they're great songs, but a lot of people look back fondly because they're listening to it in a defining period of time, you know, in their life personally or whatever's going on in the world. And there's so many different reasons why an album has longevity. And, you know, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that album will most definitely sit there with the first two, you know, on the same level. And as the years go on, it may even surpass them as well.
It's the debut album is it's a fact. It's cult.
Yeah,
it's up there with the top six. It's been shown that in reviews, graphs. It was one of the best things of that of the 80s. Up there with Raining Blood in that era. So I'm very, very grateful that I was able and had the opportunity to do it. I had some great musicians to help me do it. And, you know, like I said, when I come back, they wish to go separate ways, and I've always wished them best.
Yeah.
Always wish them the best of any future or anything they've ever even done up to today, you know. So we were very lucky. We were lucky to have that. And I see in time, like I just mentioned, that I think Heaven Bled will have that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Well, tell me when you get to where I'm going. You can tell me how it was doing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that for sure. I just think time does a lot of favors for, well, it does a lot of disadvantages for lots of different things and people, but I think time can also be a great benefit for many things, and music's one of those things that can really benefit with time. So no doubt it's gonna continue to build, and especially now, like, I mean, I don't know about you, but you know, there's so much music at everyone's fingertips these days that, you know, sometimes it takes several years for people to even get around to listening to something. You know, they have every intention, but there's a million different things getting thrown at their face or in their ears. And, you know, it's never been easier to write an album and record it, and, you know, a lot of it's shit, but it's never been easier. So there's so much noise out there that, you know, the really good stuff might take years to be discovered. So you might find that, well, it's like any of the classic albums anyway. I mean, I still discover stuff from the 70s now, and I wasn't even born then. And so it's just it's the wonders of music. It's fantastic. That
I think the battle today of the younger generation, it must be hard work. Excuse me. And I think that's what happened. There's a lot of things that happens in the scene today which I just totally am against. A lot of people have lost respect of the way they go around things. It doesn't pay to tread on people's toes, because I know as I'm almost 60, and I know what it's been like to even live to the age that I'm at. You don't fuck over people.
Yeah.
You just do things by merit and have to learn, have to take the hits, no matter what. If you're not getting to where you're going, there's something, the chemistry or the formula that isn't working. You can't buy it. It don't matter what you do. You need to earn it by your craft, your art. That's got to make it for you to get somewhere.
And those, I mean, I know what you're saying, because there's heaps of bands out there that are trying to find shortcuts in a number of different ways, and it could be, not playing fair with other people that are doing similar things to them, peers in music and whatever, but and they might get a little bit of a short-term win and might get their head above the pack, and everyone sort of looks behind and goes, oh geez, how the hell did they get all this attention? But a lot of the time those things, it's like the whole flame thing, they can burn out really quickly, and then within a few years you sort of go, who are they? And they just disappear. And it's those guys that just stick to it, and they just keep going and they keep slogging. And it's certainly what you've been doing over the years, where regardless of all the crap that you've had to deal with over the years, with people coming and going and just things changing, life happening, you come back to it, and the name's there, and the name's got legacy, and there's a story attached to it, and people identify with it. And so when you come back years later, you come back with the same consistency that you've had beforehand. It's the same code of ethics that you run by, and people know what to expect when they see the name, and you stay true to that. And I think that's where a lot of bands don't get it. They're looking for the win. They're looking for what can they achieve this year to get ahead of the pack, when they're not thinking about where they're going to be in 5, 10, 20 years plus time.
Yeah, I think as well as I do, there is no shortcut in life.
No.
It ain't going to happen. It just isn't there. It's like me the other day, thought to myself, fucking hell, I need a plane. So I rang up the flying school. And I said, how long does it take to get an airplane license? And he goes, about 6 months if you pick it up good. And I said, what about if I forget about all the theory and just do the practical? Can I get it any quicker? And he said, I'll be telling all your mates to start bucking now. and I thought, he must be saying that for a reason.
Yep.
So I can't go and buy my license at Melbourne Airport, mate. That ain't gonna happen.
No.
No.
I like that. Can I actually? I'm going to shift it a little bit, because I'm going to test the waters here, and you can tell me if you don't want to go down this rabbit hole. But we could be here, and I know you said you could talk for 10 hours, and I'll try not to get it out to that length. But can we talk about religion a little bit?
You can ask me whatever you want, mate.
Okay. So I wouldn't say I'm a really, really strict atheist, but I have my moments, and I've got a bunch of chips on my shoulder over the years, just from what I've experienced and what I've seen around me, and I'm very, very critical of a lot of things. But I think I'm more agnostic rather than probably a hardcore atheist. But I mean, what your persona's been on stage and the way that you've put yourself out there, the music and everything like that, from anybody that's had any sort of religious connection, they would use the word blasphemous when they see what your portrayal on stage and what you've put out there. And I'm really curious, because I get it, and I enjoy a lot of what you do, and I have a lot of struggles with how I have, I don't know, just lived with a lot of this stuff, and you coming from England and having that heritage behind you, and we've grown up in a very sort of Christian society, with the government, laws, everything sort of being run with an underlying pin of religion being sort of the rule of thumb. I'm just curious, because is the persona and what you've put out on stage, is it sort of that same intensity that you have personally, or is it a different type of intensity, or is it a different sort of view that you have personally compared to what you put out there?
Well, if I tell you something, you got to keep it to yourself.
Yeah, right, it's just us talking.
They let me out of the fucking nut house to do the tours and have a bit of a fucking drink up on the weekends, bro. No, that's all jokes aside. No, look, I come from a dark background.
Mm.
My ancestors, my family, Hobbs family comes from a dark side. Always has been, and I don't know whether you've done by research or whatever, but Hobbs is another name for the devil.
Mm.
They changed it from H-O-B-S to H-O-B-B-S throughout the decades to not somewhat hide it, but I can't answer that, but there's a reason why it was changed.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, I've always been into the dark side of things. I've always found it so interesting. I've been involved with that area for many, many years. As of believing to follow, I'm the sort of guy that I don't like the system, but I've learned throughout the years I've got to run along beside it. When I need the system, I jump on it, and when I don't need it, I jump back off it.
Mm.
Nobody in their right frame of mind could actually live a way of being in total darkness. I gave it a good shot. You end up being fucking sick, depression, suffering a lot of anxiety, suffering a lot of stuff, man. Negativities. That's enough to break one within itself.
Mm.
I have a presence on stage of being so blasphemous, and that gives me an opportunity in my life to let out what I have within. Because if you lived a normal life, what I've been explained on how I am on stage to people, this fucking guy should be in a fucking nut house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everybody knows me, knows that, yes, I have a fucking bad temper. I can be arrogant at times. I can be rude at times. But a lot of it is frustration to set across what I want to do and my goals, you know. I have been asked many times through interviews, am I Antichrist, whatever. I can portray to whatever anybody wants to see in me. It's you can either judge me for what they think they are or whatever. You know, I know what is right and I know what is wrong.
Is that just your own code of ethics? Like, you know, what? I mean, I've got sort of a bit of a rational mind, and I just think, well, exactly what you said. I know what's right and wrong. I don't need a rule book to tell me, you know, what my conscience should be. And I think it's pretty black and white the way I look at it. But is that similar for you? It's just, you know, you understand.
Oh, mate, fucking, I'm either the windows up or the windows down. It can't be halfway.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm an extremist. I'm extremist at everything I do. If I'm going to try and jump when I was a kid on a push bike over a jump and I wanted to clear the house, fuck, I was trying to fucking jump the neighbourhood. You know, it was, there's been no small steps for me. If I had to go swimming, I'd be jumping into the deep end. You know, it's just, yeah, I'm a lot like you, black and white, there's no grey.
Yeah.
But as I got older and as time went past, I needed the grey to balance.
Mm.
Now I'm learning that. Like I'm making changes in my life at the moment and doing what I've got to do to be happy. So, and as I mentioned just before, being around in the dark side, that is where you're going to be.
Mm.
And you don't get the opportunity to have a taste of should we say, a bit of those sunbeams.
Yeah.
And you need the sun.
Yeah.
It's like we need the rain. We need the water. We need everything.
It's that balance, isn't it?
Yeah. And in the end, Andy, don't matter how tough, how mad, how wild one thinks one can be, there's always something looming ready to get you. So, as for, I respect others' ideas. Depends what it is.
Mm.
Like all this Muslim stuff, and we won't even go down the road of that. I just fucking do not believe in half of that shit.
Mm.
That is not human at all,
Mm.
Look, it's suck it and see. If it works for you, have a crack. If it don't, you learn, you work it out.
I'm a bit similar to you where I've got a level of respect where I think you can do whatever the hell you want if it doesn't impact or hurt anybody else. And if you want to do something ridiculous at home and you got it could be anything. You're into something ridiculous. You got a weird fetish, or you want to start worshiping some crazy looking god or whatever it is. That's completely up to you. And if it makes you happy and gives you fulfillment, then more power to you.
Correct.
It's when it starts to seep and impact other people. That's when it becomes an issue, and that's I guess that's a big problem. But I mean, I've had to soften a little bit because I mean I've grown up in a family with a lot of sort of Christian roots and parents and everybody that's had a lot of that in the history, and I get along with my family really, really well, but there's been a lot of me getting confused with where I sit in the grand scheme of things, and so that leads to a lot of frustration, and you want to rebel and all that kind of stuff, and so you get to that black and white stage where you think, fuck off, all that stuff, and you've got no time for it whatsoever, and then you start to think, well, everybody needs something, and some people rely on different things to get them through life, and and if people find happiness in different things, then that good on them. And I might roll my eyes sometimes when I hear what certain people are into or what they believe, and you think, oh God, really? But in the end, it's I'm sure I do a bunch of stupid things that people look at me and go, why the hell do you do that, or why the hell are you into that? And I think it's perfectly fine. And I'm happy and content. So it's the roles are no doubt reversed in with other people as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. It's the same as everything. How you want to be treated, you treat others.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. Like I've always had I believe in morals. I believe in respecting other people's properties. If they're given the opportunity to be around them, be around their fortunes, and you give them a chance to be around yours, or I expect my things to be treated nicely as I would respect and treat theirs.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, bro. I know people that, fuck, I've seen it before. Well, some of these friendly barbecues.
Yeah.
They can turn to fucking chaos and your house is fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, now you're really going to see some demons. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And it's the simplicity of as you said. I mean, it's respecting other people's property, but it's a bigger thing than that. It's just respecting somebody else in general, because you understand that somebody else's possessions, whether it be a tangible thing or like an emotional thing or whatever it is, that's their possessions. It's their identity. It's who they are. And if you mess with it, then it's just a sign of blatant disrespect. You're not worried about anybody else but yourself, and there's a selfish aspect to it, and it just speaks volumes of what that person's character is. So, to be a fly on the wall at one of those parties.
Oh, mate, like I've always had self-respect. I can fuck up just like everybody else, maybe even worse at times. But I've always kept that sort of thing away from venues I play, festivals I play. It's always, and I've always said to my lineups, don't ever fucking make me look bad or cause me any problems under my name that you travel with. You want to fuck up, go do somewhere else. Actually, go do it at home when you return.
Yeah.
And that's how it is, bro.
Well, it's like getting a job. You're working for a business, and you gotta do the right thing and not make that business or that employer look bad, and that might be a really sort of I don't know, very bland way of looking at it, but it's the same thing in a band. You're all representing each other or a bigger thing, which is the name of what it is.
Yeah, I can remember when I was young, I used to go to these job interviews. First thing I used to do was walk in, stand up on my desk, have a shit, see if the boss laughed. And then I said, what do you reckon? Can I have the job? You know what I mean? People fucking do shit like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they think, fuck, why didn't I get the job?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just it's a lack of awareness, like a lack of their own awareness, like them where they are, and I mean they're so self-absorbed in themselves, but they don't understand where they are with everybody else around them, like them in context with the people that whether it be friends, family, or work colleagues, or just the general public. They don't care about them with everybody else. They just care about themselves, and that's it. And
I do. Yeah. That's what I said about. You jump on the system when you need it.
Yeah.
And then when you get it, you can jump off it. You can jump off again. Can you remember a song many years ago? And I remember the chorus about this dude that went for the job interview and he had long hair. He tucked it under a hat. And he wore good clothes, got the job. And then when he turned up at work, and I took my hat off, and under my hat and this long hair come flying out. And, you know what I mean? I can't remember the song.
No, I don't know.
Imagine me working for you. Oh, I can't remember. It's a cool song.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was something he went to the job interview and put the hair under his hat and got the job, and then he was out there and working. He just ripped off his hat and the long hair fell out and took off his jumper, mate, covered in tattoos. Fantastic.
Oh.
Imagine me working for you.
I'll have to look it up. I don't know it, but I mean,
good song.
I've had that for over the years. Trying to go for jobs and take one look at you and go, oh yeah, like you look a bit rough around the edges with your long hair or whatever, and you sort of then you try and explain to them. They're like, oh, what do you do outside of work? And you go, play in a band, and they're like, oh, here we go. And so there's a bit of a judgment there, and if most of the time you don't even get successful of getting the job, but if you are, then it's always an uphill battle because you're always, well, at least you feel like you're on the outside anyway. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
Certainly is.
So, virgin metal, would you still class Hobbs as virgin metal?
Probably not. Probably not anymore. Hobbs Angel Death is is a dark satanic thrash band. You know, it's what it is. It's the whole idea of virgin metal was not to be fucked over by anybody.
Mm.
And I think probably over the years, well, yeah, I was. So, and I had to rebuild again and turn it into what I believed and what I could do. So I would class myself now as a black thrash band from Australia, Hobbs of Death.
There you go. Simple as that.
Yeah, you know, it's on the band.
Yeah.
I'm not better than anybody else. Never went out to be. I went out to succeed, but I wanted to be me. I didn't want to try and copy others. Now I've left it up to the individual.
Over the last year, you know, just dealing with all the health stuff, and you making, you know, and you mentioned before, you know, making decisions to relocate and sort of wind down. I mean, and you've mentioned the grey area as well, but you know, what's the outlook been after sort of getting a bit of a hit in the face with reality of, you know, your mortality and just, I don't know, has there been a lot of reflection over the last 12 months of just dealing with all this sort of stuff?
Due to my health?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just what you mentioned when we first started chatting and just sort of what you've been dealing with. Has it been, I don't know, like, has it been a bit of a moment to reflect on everything and sort of see where you sit in the world, or is it, you know, I don't know. Yeah. How's it sort of impacted you?
Actually, it's not been an easiest thing to accept for me, because I actually, over the last 12 months, when I got diagnosed with this global heart issue and global heart failure issue, and the heart muscle is very damaged, top valves are very damaged, my arteries are pretty fucking dried out. Can't have stents, can't have anything like that. Like I mentioned before, that need a heart transplant, but that is not going to happen because I wouldn't survive the surgery anyway now. Yeah. So it was a fucking shock, and I had some great things lined up. I had America lined up for some good tours. I had Europe lined up with some amazing things and some really good bands to play with. So I guess at the moment I feel like a gladiator mentally still wants to go out into the arena, but the body fucking just can't do it. You know, so yeah, it's been a bit of a head bash for me, so a bit of emotional time. But at the end of the day, I think to myself, well, I've done a lot already. I've really earned some respect from people that matter. I've got awesome fan base. And a lot of people that know my issue and whatever, well, they think to themselves, well, fuck, if that guy could do it, he'd be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he's not here, and he don't fuck around. He don't pull punches. He gets out there and does what he does. Yeah, so it has given me a bit of time to reflect upon things, Andy, and about the next step of what I do now. You know, so yeah, I'm still interested in the scene. I still keep a bit of an ear open to it. Yeah, but it is a massive change. It's just like waking up one day and fucking no hands.
Yeah.
You know, can you imagine? You know, like here you are, ready to take off to go on a fucking tour, and God forbid nothing fucking happens. But all of a sudden, fuck me swinging. I can't move me fucking legs. I can't move my hands. I had a fucking stroke in his sleep.
Yeah.
It's all over.
Yeah.
Without a warning.
And I guess that's anybody, isn't it? I mean, really, who knows what tomorrow's going to bring, like what tomorrow has in store for us, and you just don't know. And you know, obviously the longer we sort of hang around on Earth and do our thing, then you know the closer we're going to get to eventually an expiry date. But you know, it can happen at any time. You know, no one knows what the hell's going to happen. So you know, it's
I think what's changed and what's made me reflect now, Andy, and this is coming from an extremist and somebody that is all or nothing. All my young life and everything that I've done in life, throughout my life, I've done everything to fucking try and kill myself. And that's a fact. Fucking drinking, drugs, I've done it all. I've tried it all. And I still got through all the head fuck.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, now I'm thinking to myself, I'm sort of doing everything I possibly can to fucking live longer.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes when it sort of becomes that big, massive foot up the arse. And you go, well, here it is, mate.
Is that hard to deal with, or is it something that you sort of go, well, I wouldn't have done all the things that I've done over the years if I hadn't have just lived the life that I've lived. Like, you know, people say, oh, I've got no regrets regardless. But, you know, do you sort of look back and go, oh shit, like, you know, I should have taken a different path, or I shouldn't have been extreme, or do you just accept that that was what your journey was?
I've got some really, really good friends in the industry that have supported me through the decisions I've had to make, the changes I've had to make. And we have sat down and we've had the talks of, like, when we're well and when we're fit, we joke about going the grave fucking sideways. Until it actually is sitting there looking at you in the face and you think, I'd actually like to use a bit of a ladder if I've got to do it now.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of them things, bro. You know, it's just one of those things that it can happen to anybody, and you can have a mishap getting in the car, going to work, look fucking to the left, look to the right, just make sure and have another look at the left, yeah, or cool, and fucking bang. Something can come from the fucking right through the red light. You can't change it. When your time's up, your time's up. But I think that when you get a little bit of a chance to have an opportunity of making a bit longer, you sort of take a bit more note than you did before.
Yeah.
You know, like I know for a fact, when I got sick, I had to stop the drinking, the smoking immediately. I had to stop it. Otherwise, I died when I got to the hospital. And they got me back. And they said, you're pretty fucked up, mate. If we can give you a chance in 8 days to help you leave here, would you make an effort? I said, fuck yeah, of course. But they said, you're going to find out some things on the way that you're not going to like. And I thought, well, if I can get out of here, that'll be a fucking start.
Yeah.
Until in the end I learned the problems and learned the issues. Well, it's not going to really hurt if I have a couple of smokes and a couple of beers now. in moderation.
Hmm.
And I guess that's sort of what I should have been fucking doing before. Not smoking 150 a day and a slab a day.
Yeah.
You know, but hey, it was fucking fun, mate. I loved every fucking bit of it.
Well, that's what I was saying. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, you're in a different place to certainly where I am as far as what you have experienced in the last 12 months and just in life in general. So I mean, everything that I say is with a big fat grain of salt, you know, compared to what you've experienced. But you sort of look and go, even the mistakes that you've made or the extremes that you've taken over the years, I mean, they've influenced stories and situations and experiences and people that you've met, and it's made you who you are for good and for bad. And and so that's just, it's who you are. And I mean, I don't know, I can't comment legitimately on the situation because I'm not experiencing it myself, but I guess it's just it would be a very hard thing to process, a very hard thing to sort of work through. And as you said before, like you mentioned, you know, you've been going through a little bit of, you know, denial along the way of just trying to accept things and adjust and all that. So I think there'd be a lot of mental hurdles along the way.
Well, just going back to that part about the religion and all that sort of thing, being where I've came from and how I've lived my life, I'd say fucking 90% of it has been living in denial already.
Yeah.
You know, that's a fact. That's how it is. So I guess being already what I've done and having to relearn and think now, it is it's like preparation, I guess. It's like a preparation of the next step.
How do you look at it? Like, how do you?
Yeah, how you look at it today.
Yeah.
You know, like you envisage your life of fucking denial. Well, it would be stupid now to go into fucking denial and fight against the issue of today when I guess before you would have turned around and said, fuck, I don't give a fuck. Well, now you look and you understand what the word hope is.
Yeah.
Another learning process, Andy.
Oh, man, I'm learning every day.
Yeah. Mate, I still learn.
Yeah.
I still learn. And I've never been afraid to learn because I'm successful in a lot of things I do. Building cars, boats, whatever. Not everybody knows everything. Research pays. Go talk to old school people. You know, again, there's no shortcuts.
No. Oh, geez, I've got a lot to think about. Fuck. You know, sometimes you feel like you've lived a lifetime, and then you sort of just realize that, geez, like there's still so much ahead, and there's so much to experience and things that you just got no clue about. And as you said before, like for yourself, I mean, you know, you're always learning, and I think everybody's learning, no matter what, right up until the last moment. You know, and probably at the last moment, you probably learn the most the most about everything. You know, at those last sort of moments in time. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's pretty heavy stuff. I mean, do you sort of look at everything a little bit more, I don't know, from an optimistic point of view these days? I mean, you mentioned before about, you know, looking at, you know, having a bit more light in life and being able to sort of step in both worlds, so, you know, in the darkness and in the light. And do you look at things a little bit more from an optimistic point of view to try and search for for the happiness and what you do have?
Well, what I made the changes in my life in the past short while is you imagine you've got your minus, you've got the zero, and you've got the plus. I've been able to, and clever enough, to bring myself into the zero balance. So I don't want to be somebody that all of a sudden wants to jump on the seesaw and run to the positive because that's fake.
Yep.
It's not going to help me now. It's like buying time.
It's like a different type of denial, isn't it?
Yeah. So what I've done now is I've managed to get my life into a position where I can be at the zero level. I can have one foot on either side, and I can tip on that seesaw.
Yeah. And
I sort of have enough sort of smartness now, well, I hope so, Andy, that if I put too much weight on that minus side, I don't like where I'm fucking going.
No.
I'd rather just sort of sit there being able to have the best of both worlds.
Going back to that balance.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can have something, you can be believed from others about being something, and then all of a sudden somebody turns around and fucking flings to the other side. I'm not a hypocrite. I've never been a hypocrite. I don't want to be classed as a hypocrite. I just know for me as a person to find my own balance, not worrying about anybody else's.
Well, everybody's different, aren't they? I mean, everybody's version of their own balance is completely different, you know. And people have got different degrees of sitting on either side of that. You know, if you're using that analogy of the seesaw, you know, people sit on different sides and to different degrees. And if everyone tried to be the same, then well, shit, we'd be in a lot of trouble. And that's what probably makes life pretty interesting. Is that we got all sorts of people out there that have different views on everything and live different ways and think different things are acceptable or not acceptable, and yeah, it just makes life interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like I've always had that vision, Andy, of to have success. Sometimes you've got to slip into a lot of negativity to learn about it, and then come back out of it and jump on the other side and use the positivities to balance it. Because without going into the negativity side, you're not going to take the risks. It's like if you see a cherry out on the end of the tree, we already know, fucking hell, that's going to break if I go and try and grab that. Do you understand where I'm going?
But you might try and grab it anyway. You might give it a shot.
Well, you know, I've always thought, fuck it, I just fucking jump to the cherry, grab it, and I just fucking dust myself off and I hit the ground.
Yeah, worry about it later when you hit the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or now I would think about, fuck, is there any fucking rope around here that I could sort of like flick over and fucking lasso that and bring it out without fucking me back?
Yeah.
You know, it's how it is.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is like you have to live in a bit of darkness to appreciate the light as well. You know, you can't be positive and you can't be happy all the time and really understand what happiness is. You can't really truly be happy unless you've had experience of going through shit and living moments of, you know, struggle and whatever that is, you know, in your own world. And you know, how can anyone appreciate life? How can you get like a real appreciation for the people around you until you feel that you imagine them not being around, and you sort of go, oh fuck, like, you know, I do appreciate that person, or I appreciate the situation I'm in, because I've either experienced what it's like to not to have certain people or things around me, or, you know, I've been through something, or I can imagine what it would be like, and then you start to appreciate what being happy is like. But you can't just always be on one side, and as the same with the negativity, you know, you can't just stay, you can't stay in a dark space all the time and be able to appreciate that as well.
Look, I think it's the same. Look, there's always somebody that is worse off than ourselves.
Yeah.
And I've always had the attitude, no matter how fucking bad it is, no matter how much this issue hurts and how fucked up this is with life in general and everything that we try and do in life, I always think to myself, fuck, there's always somebody worse off than me.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not that bad, Peter. You'll fucking get through this and just keep moving on, you know. It's like, I saw something a while ago, a long time ago, and I've always sort of like thought about it and think, you know, like, I've always given my time to friends if they're feeling down or they're out or whatever. I've always given my time to give them my ears, help them see different, give them a chance to talk. I'm a good listener too as well, you know. And I remember seeing something about this guy going, fuck, he was begging for a pair of runners. Fuck, I wish I had a pair of runners to put on my feet. And then I saw this picture of this guy. I wish I had feet to put the runners on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
And you think, fuck, that ain't so bad at all. This is not that fucking bad.
It can always be worse.
You know, so, but that's how it is, mate. It's, I don't know, horses for courses. Some of us are meant to work our asses off until the day we die. Some of us get an easy break, right time, right place. And I guess back to industry of the music, we can't all be Metallicas. We can't all be all the top four. We can't all have success in everything we do. The world would be so fucking boring.
Yeah, that's it.
And nobody would have strive. Nobody would have want. You just get up. Fuck. I'm Elvis Presley today. I'm fucking rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's part of the thing. Is it's the thrill of chasing something. It's the thrill of the chance of you know, even the slightest chance of success, and that's why people get hungry for things, and that's why people put effort in and work hard and as you said earlier, like sacrifice so much to go.
I also believe in the saying, the chase is better than the catch.
Yeah, that's right. The old Motorhead song. Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You got to enjoy the journey. You got to enjoy the process, because I mean, once you get there and you get what you want, then you sort of go, oh, all right, okay, well, is that it? Or I've done that. What's next? And then you're always moving. And I think, yeah, absolutely, the chase is far better than the catch. And unfortunately, you sort of don't really a lot of people don't realize that until it's in hindsight. And then they go, oh, I didn't really appreciate that, but it was actually a pretty amazing time.
Yeah, it's how it is. It's like when I see you put your posts up of your wedding.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's fucking cool. Like, Andy wants to have that memory of getting married every day of the week because it's a great day.
Yeah. It's
a really fucking good day. I've done it 3 times.
Yeah.
You know? And I thought that was so cool. I thought every year I'm seeing this. Oh, we just done it again. I'm thinking, fucking great. Enjoy life, bro. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know. And I wish that for everybody. You know, I don't have. I'm not jealous about anything. I understand that to want, you must go out, you must get it. Doesn't come for free. And it's hard work to have it. And you can't be bitter about things. I mean, look, we all have bitter feelings about some things, but the longer we keep them, the more it tears you up inside.
But absolutely, but even if you do get something, it's very hard for most people to be able to keep it as well. So.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. You can have something one day and fucking lose it within 10 minutes.
Yep.
Now we start thinking, how the fuck did I drop that?
Yep.
And learn from it. Don't do it again.
That's right. Yeah.
But I've done a lot of things, and I still keep thinking, fucking hell, I keep dropping the fucking ball. And I should have learnt from the thing. But sometimes to keep giving and giving and giving is not the answer either.
Well, it comes back to that balance at the end, doesn't it? Like, you can't just be all on one side. You've got to have that. You got to have that balance.
And it works with people too. In the end, you can't keep helping and helping and helping, because if they turn around and shit in your face, well, in the end you think, well, now I'm fucking going down with you. I ain't doing that. Mm. Well, you gotta break. You gotta go. You gotta break the chain and go away. You know.
Yeah, and you gotta. I say the saying all the time because I heard it a while back and it's just stuck in my head. But you gotta be selfish to be selfless. You know, you gotta look after yourself, and you gotta make sure that you're doing the right thing by yourself in order to be able to help other people. And I think sometimes people go too far in the other direction, and they're so selfless that they give and give and give and give at the detriment to themselves, and they break themselves because they're so focused on giving so much to other people that they end up suffering. And then that just means that everybody else suffers anyway, because you're just burning yourself out. So you need to be able to get your backyard in check before you can sort of go out there and do the best for other people. But it's a hard thing for people to I don't know, to understand.
Again, one has to find out for themselves.
Yep. Have you, I mean, there's quite a few changes going on in your life at the moment with, you know, especially relocating and looking at a different pace in life. But are you still sort of in the back of your mind thinking, although you're not going to really sort of get out there and do a lot of touring or anything like that now, but are you still thinking about, you know, doing a lot of music and still writing and maybe putting some stuff out in the future? Have you still got stuff that's sort of sitting there that's, you know, ready to be done or worked on?
I've got a lot of material. But I just feel now that now it's about me.
Yeah. It
really is about me now. And, you know, like, as much as I would love to ring Alicia and say, bro, I'm coming over in 2 weeks, get a tour happening. And same as America, ring the friends over there, the line up there and say, I'm coming in a few days. It's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. So why torment myself any further and just enjoy, go fishing every day and do what I love doing.
Go and find another way.
And even the people that know me extremely well, and the people that have worked with me for extremely long time, and we've really done the hard yards together, even they said to me, Pete, now it's your time.
Yeah.
It's find peace within and enjoy what time you got left.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. So I've got this vision that I'm sort of heading up that way to Sydney, sort of that way, and there's a band up there called The Lord, so I'm going to go up there and annoy the fucking shit out of them in my car.
Please do.
Yeah. No, I've got some good friends up in Sydney, and it's going to be, okay, moving closer to that way, better weather.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. But that's me now. I've done what I've done. I go back to the industry. My gift with having wed, my respect to people that I admire, and vice versa. And they'll always be my friends.
Definitely, it would no doubt take a lot of weight off your shoulders now. Like, just I guess going through those periods and being able to sort of tick a lot of things off the list, but now giving yourself the green light to be able to relax and as you said, like, it's your time now, and you don't have to put that pressure on you. I'm sure, like, over the years, like, you've always had that sort of, I'm just having a guess here, but you probably had that underlying little bit of a nagging pressure there to always sort of just be thinking about, what's next, and thinking about the next thing to tackle, the next thing to conquer, and now it's sort of a case where you can sort of just say, I don't need to think about that stuff.
Well, I don't need to prove myself to anybody anymore. I believe that I gave my time in the industry a very, very good shot. I also know that I could have handled things better, but that's a part of learning too.
Yeah.
So I have no regrets with what I have done and what efforts I've put into the industry. I'll always respect a person that tries their ultimate to do it the right way, and I'll watch from the boundary and wish them well about what they try to do.
Well,
and I can't do no more, bro. That's how it is.
Well, I don't know. I mean, from the outside looking in, I think it's a pretty damn good way to be now. And I think, being able to understand that, and a lot of people can never verbalize it because it never gets into their head. They never get to that point where they allow themselves to think that way. And I think for you to be able to sort of acknowledge that with yourself and have that acceptance of what you've achieved and what you've proven, and you've left your mark and you've impacted a lot of people, and it's a great place to be, and it's a great place to be able to now give yourself, as I said before, that green light to just focus on yourself and do what you want to do, and not have to worry about the next thing, as far as the next thing to conquer with music, or what you've been doing in the past. It's just do your thing.
Yeah, because I mean, like, even when I was playing, doing the tours of Europe, I was touring every 6 months for the last 6 years. I was 6 months living here and sort of 6 months living there, because every tour I did, it was a minimum of 40 shows.
Yeah. And
from the day that I left Australia and arrived on that space, I only used to sleep an hour a day. So on that job, I was the lawyer, I was the solicitor, I was the musician, I was the doctor, I was the granddad, I was the father, I was the mother. I was everything to make that fucking happen all the way.
Yeah.
I picked up grown men crying. and that was my job. That's what I had to do.
Whatever it took.
You know, I just had to get the unit and the people over the line, no matter what. And I did it.
I was going to say, I think you definitely have done it. You've done it multiple times over the years, and you know, the proof's in the pudding of what's been put out there and will stay there. And you know, going back to what we said earlier about the last release, you know, that with time that will be something that's stamped permanently in a lot of people's minds, with, you know, something that's defining and something that becomes a cult classic and something that people look at quite fondly. And I think that ties in with the bigger story of what the band has been since day dot, and what you personally have been through, but the band itself has been through in its varying formations and being all over the world, and the amount of people that have sort of been touched by what the band's done and what you've done. So it's just, it's this bigger thing. It's even bigger than the band itself. It's just this mark that's being left. So yeah, it's I
mean, it's like when I tour Europe, I play in Norway, and I'm so lucky to have, and he's done it for me a few times. I'm so lucky to have my personal DJ for the night, and that's Fenris and Darkthrone, you know.
Yeah.
and he gladly, we meet, we laugh, we have fun, we talk shit.
Yeah.
It's the same as all those guys. Satiricon, they come here, I can hook up with them, we can talk whatever. Same as America, same as everywhere I've been in the world. I've been lucky to build a friendship and showing my respect to those people, and it's come in return twofold. And that's an amazing thing, you know, like what people have a vision of fans and all that sort of thing, Andy. These guys are my personal friends.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing to have made and to have had in this world. It's just, you know, like who would have thought?
You certainly couldn't. You couldn't get that doing a 9-to-5 day job. That's for sure.
No, because after time in your 9-to-5 day job, wherever you go, like with a factory or anything like that, that's when it becomes numbers.
Yeah.
You know how people become a number?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the friends that I have, OS from bands and the people that I mix with and whatever, we don't treat each other as numbers.
No. We're
people. You know, we're human beings. So that's why I've never tried to be anything egotistical. Just be myself. This is how I am. I can fuck around. I can joke. I can do silly things. If I'm wrong, I apologise. If I'm out of line, I apologise. That's just me as a person.
Mm.
The ones that are different and, what do we say, stuck up and fucking out of control and don't give a fuck about anything for themselves, they don't survive.
No, not at all.
So sometimes you've got to cop it on the chin, I guess.
Just keep trucking.
That's it, bro. That's the one.
That's it. Well, I'm going to let you go, but
awesome.
I think we'll definitely catch up in November, because I haven't seen you in bloody so long. I don't know when the last time I saw you. So it'd be good to catch up. And
last time I saw you is when we came up and played with Albatross.
Oh yeah, geez. Okay, so that's going back a while now. So that was the last time you guys played Sydney.
Yeah.
Shit, time flies. Oh, jeez.
That was when I saw you last up there.
Yeah.
And I came up probably a couple of times afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll catch up.
Definitely.
And like I said, mate, totally appreciate the time you've given me here.
Likewise.
It's been good. It hasn't been talking about all band stuff and whatever. It's been talking about personal life. And whatever.
I think it's more interesting because, I mean, you've been around the traps long enough where you've told a lot of this stuff over and over again, and people can find that stuff, and the people that know you and have known you for years know those stories and know what you've been through. And we touched on a few of those things, but it's sort of, I don't know, you drip it in, but you just talk about life, and I think that's I get far more out of that than just talking shop all the time, because you can talk shop.
I know. It was like when I was doing the interviews for the Heaven Blade album, and these people are asking me all these questions. I'm thinking, fuck, do the research. This has already been answered before. Why am I telling you what I've already been doing for the last fucking 38 years? Yeah. Ask me how many sex change went or something.
Do you want to throw that one in at the last moment? I got a bit excited when you said that the other day. I thought, oh, Peter's got a bombshell to drop on this podcast.
Oh, mate, I just thought to myself when you put up that post, and I could just see everybody talking about the band they're in.
Oh yeah,
what their band is doing.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, nah, fucking let's liven this up. I've got to bloody talk about having the cock come off and the balls gone, and let's liven this bloody up here. Let's get into real reality where people are afraid to do things.
Well, I tell you what, you are one of the more entertaining people on Facebook. Out of everyone that I'm connected with, I laugh so much at some of the shit that you post. It's just, and you stir the pot, and I love it. It's just fantastic because it's just, as you said, it just livens things up. It makes things interesting, and I think it shocks the system a bit. I think people get into autopilot and just not really, they don't really think.
Yeah,
just do it.
I mean, look, I've got my views with people, what the things I don't believe in, and that's like, like the crowdfunding shit and whatever. I've always believed in get out there, sacrifice your job, get a loan, get your own personal loan to put back into your dream. Don't ask somebody else to pay your gas bills and electricity bills. Time to grow up. Come on, do it.
Yeah.
So I've copped a lot of shit with that sort of stuff, but I just voice my opinion. It's how it is. If I don't say, who's gonna know?
Well, you don't want a group of people that just all agree with each other all the time. I mean, just going back to what we said before, if everyone was successful or everyone was the same, then life would be pretty boring. You got to have disagreement. You got to have different views and people that have been around the block, for longer than others, that have had a bit more experience and have seen, proof of how to do things and how not to do things. Then everyone's got every right to weigh in on something. So yeah, more power to you and to anyone that just wants to voice an opinion. Go for it.
It was like I think something happened when Mayhem come out, and somebody said something, and a friend of mine was talking to Hellhammer, and Hellhammer said, he goes, "I'll tell you one thing, that's fucking Peter Hobbs, mate. He always says the truth. He doesn't hide. He doesn't run. And he doesn't give a fuck who it offends if he's right. Because he speaks the truth."
What a testimonial from Hellhammer. That's great.
We've always got on good.
Yeah.
For many, many years. From the 80s.
Yeah.
90s. And all this. Faust from Emperor.
Yeah.
The Brotherhood song influenced him to want to play in a band. Everything. He goes, fuck, I love that song now. And, you know, like we played together and we've done shit and we've laughed and had fun. And it's like really, you know, just like going back to what I was saying, it's a young kid being in a band today, seeing an idol, but never actually getting to know the person for real. And I'm lucky that I've had all that.
Oh, definitely.
And Salmo, all these people, the Yanks as well.
Yeah.
I can go anywhere. I can go anywhere in the world. I can go to any gig here, and I can go backstage and I can have a laugh with these people.
It's pretty good.
And for me, that's what it was all about.
Yeah, that's
being able to have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, to have that impact on other people as well. It's just like it's incredible feeling. And
like Larkin, I had the chance to talk to Dio. I spoke to him for a fair length of time. And then when I was 9 years old, and Rainbow, and I saw these bands, and I wanted to be in a band because of these guys. And I was talking to him, and I told him about all this, and he goes, well, I've heard your story for 20 minutes. He said, I'm going to tell you one. He goes, I know who you are. You come from Australia. You're a diehard, a tryer. He goes, I respect people like that. And he said, you telling me at 9 years old I wanted to be in a band because of him. He said, now me at 60 and talking to you, you make me want to keep on going. How fucking cool was that?
That's pretty surreal, isn't it? Far out.
Oh, man, Dio turns around and says to me that I make him want to keep on going? I thought, Jesus Christ, let's fucking nip out to that back toilet, mate. I got my kneeling pad with me.
Oh, mate, that's a pinch yourself moment, isn't it?
Oh, mate, it's fantastic. And that's what I've said to the young guys that play with me today. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
Don't pay to play. Don't ever do that. And when you get a chance and you get to play with these bands that are successful, listen to what they say. Let them talk. Don't tell them about yourself.
Yeah.
Only way you're going to learn is to be ears. And eventually they will listen to what you've got to say. And I've tried to explain that to young guys. Don't fucking burn the bridges. The bridge is there. You've made the connection. Don't fuck it all up in one night. It's like on your first date. Last thing you can fucking do is talk about yourself all night, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think
you let her talk about everything, mate, till your ears drop off.
Oh, is that why it didn't work for me in the past? I've had a realization now, like, oh shit, that was what I stuffed up with. I was too busy talking about myself.
It's like me post the other day, Andy. Like I've been to that tribute fountain so many fucking times,
yeah.
and I've always thrown money in it because, for starters, one coin means you're going back. 2 means you're going to meet somebody. 3, you're going to get married. So I fucking threw $1,000 worth in one night, mate. So I knew that no matter what happens in my fucking life, I did it all. You know?
I love it.
But it was a fact. It was a fact.
Yeah.
Because when you make a dream and when you think, fucking hell, when's it going to be my turn? It's always there.
Yeah. It's always there.
Your turn is always there, but you don't see it. Yeah, because we lost our ears listening to that fucking bird years ago.
I'm sure. I'm sure there's a bunch of guys listening right now going, "Oh, geez, this is ringing too true."
Yeah, no, it's just
That's life, isn't it?
that's it, mate. No, but like I said, thank you so much for your time, because without people like yourself doing what you do, there's no need or there's no reason to have people like myself about.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. You know, I've always respected radio shows, promoters, all the people in the industry, because without them, there's no us.
Oh, that's it. That's it. And, you know, being on the other side of the fence and, you know, appreciating that in a band and I thought, you know, this is a good way to help other people and use what I've got to and put it to good use. To, you know, I've taken a lot from other people and benefited a lot in playing in a band over the years, and it's a way to give back, but it's just great to be able to talk to people and just talk about different stuff. You know, there's not many occasions where, you know, your traditional sort of interviews or your radio stuff or and all that kind of thing is you get to talk about life, or you get to talk for like, you know, close to 2 hours and talk about all sorts of shit and go in all sorts of different directions and have a really good conversation with someone. And this is really good because you get a whole bunch of people that are going to listen to us dribble on, but they get to listen candidly, like they're sitting in and just sitting there with a beer and just tuning in. And, you know, you just get a different perspective. You get two guys having a chat, and you've lived this incredible life, and I'm trying to get bits and pieces of information out of you and learning from you. And I think that's just really, I think it's really important, and I certainly get that when I listen to other people have conversations. And I think that's going back to what we said before. We're learning every day, and these sort of things help people learn as well. And I think it's just it's a really important thing. So it's great that, you know, even you and all the things that you've done over the years, and even now where you are in your life, and you've got enough on your plate, but for you to be able to sit down and put up with me for 2 hours and go back and forth. I mean, that means a hell of a lot to me. So I appreciate you having the patience and giving me the opportunity to cheer your ear off for a while.
No, pleasure's all mine, mate. Thank you very, very much.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll talk soon, and I'll see you in November.
All right, mate. You take care. Or give my love to your missus and everything, and keep rocking on there and be good. Stay safe.
Will do. All right, mate. Take care.
All right, mate. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. What a character. He's such a good dude. Thank you so much, Peter, for being a part of the podcast. I'm super stoked that we had the conversation that we did, and it's now one of many amazing conversations that I've had on this podcast over the last few years. So I really, really appreciate the time and just being able to have such a candid conversation, and I hope that you guys enjoyed that conversation as well. If you want to learn more about Hobbs Angel of Death, you can go to andysocial.net and click on the show notes for this episode. I'll also have ticket info for the band's last ever Sydney show, which is November 2nd at the Ballface Stag, which is day 1 of the Steel Assassins Festival. Lord are playing day 2, so you can also find ticket info over at lord.net.au. You can buy single day 1 or day 2 passes, or you can get a 2-day pass, which gets you the best of both worlds, which I recommend, of course. But andysocial.net is the best place to go. Everything will be in the show notes, as always. You guys know the drill. Okay, a few quick updates before we wrap up this episode. As you guys know, we are recording the new Lord album at the moment. We have everything in place. We haven't got the artwork yet, but we had a rough draft and weren't happy with it, so we've thrown it back at the artist and he's redoing it. But we've got an album title. We haven't released anything yet, but the album sounds really good. I think you guys are really happy for Lord fans, that is. And I hope that over the coming weeks, I can give you guys a few little teasers. For the few people that stick around and listen to this intro, that I hope that I can reward you guys with some little bits and pieces of information. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks, but it's all coming together very quickly. So I think there'll be some announcements reasonably soon anyway. We've got 2 shows for 2018, no more. So September 22nd in Melbourne at Max Watts, which is the Metal United Down Under Festival. We are headlining that with a whole range of other amazing bands on that lineup. A couple of them include Vanishing Point, Alarum, Espionage, and there's a whole bunch of others, Malice's Wake, and I know I've missed heaps of bands. Apologies, guys. You can go to lord.net.au and see the full lineup there. And as mentioned earlier, the second show is day 2 of the Steel Assassins Festival. We're headlining day 2. So you can go to lord.net.au and check out the full lineup for both days, and you can buy tickets. Both of those shows are on Moshtix, and I believe the Melbourne show is also selling tickets through Oztix as well. So lots of different options. If you get confused or you need a link and you can't find it, shoot me a message and I'll sort you out. Self-Starter update. Now, as mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Self-Starter is now a part of the National Film and Sound Archive, so I am officially a part of Australian sound history. So crazy, who would have thought? Selfstarter.com.au, as always, a bit of a call to action for you guys. If you know anybody or you yourself are self-employed, or you run your own business, or you have a little side hustle, you earn a little bit of money on the side, a second job maybe, something like that, something interesting, especially if it's unorthodox and a little bit different, a little bit left field. I'd love to hear from you. I'm especially looking for people in regional Australia. I want to see people that are doing their own thing in parts of the country where there is traditionally less opportunities. And that's a place that, an aspect that I find quite fascinating and I'm passionate about. So I really want to highlight as many people in regional Australia as possible. However, I am looking everywhere. So if you think that there might be somebody that could be featured on Self-Starter, yourself or somebody that you know, please shoot me a message and I'd love to hear from you, because I've got a lot of great plans for Self-Starter and I'd love to get more and more people involved with that. So thank you very much. Okay, folks, wrapping it up. If you want to support the podcast, as always, I mean, you guys know the drill, but I'm going to go through it really quickly. Social media love, liking, tagging, retweeting, commenting, all that sort of stuff goes a long way. You can leave reviews on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Facebook, wherever the hell you want on the internet, all helps. You can buy merchandise. I've got t-shirts, USB passes. I just put an order in for patches, so they'll be coming soon. If you want to shout me a beer via the paypal.me button on the Andy Social website, you can do that. If you're interested in micro investing, you can get a referral link from me for Raiz, R-A-I-Z, which invests your spare change into the stock market. As always, and what's mentioned previously on episodes, get your own professional financial advice, do your proper research before making any financial decisions. However, this is a bit of fun, and if you use my referral code, you'll get $2.50, I'll get $2.50, and that will be invested into the stock market. So you're not going to make $1 million out of it, but it's a bit of fun. So there's a whole range of ways to support this podcast. It means a hell of a lot. Thank you so much for all the people that have been giving me guest recommendations. That's another thing that you can do to support this podcast. I have so many people coming up. It is ridiculous, but I love bulk recording because it helps me so much. But lots of interesting people, as you guys have been seeing so far this year. I've had an eclectic mix of guests so far, and certainly continuing in that theme moving forward as well. So enough of me, guys. So much blabbing on. I'm going to wrap it up. Until next week, guys, take care.